started.
But yes.
1 o'clock, we're going to get started. Thank you. If you haven't checked in, please check in. If you're registered for the class, you got an email with all the handouts. Right. How's everyone doing? Okay. Getting it all down. We're gonna be talking about seller's compliance today. First thing, TCPA. Y'all understand the do not call list, do not call, do not email. If you do not have a relationship with the person already, make sure you check the do not call list before you start emailing. I'm sorry, not emailing, texting and making phone calls. It can get very expensive.
That does not apply to email, right?
No, but you have to have an opt out on your email.
Oh, you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Y'all heard of the settlement or the lawsuit?
Yes.
All right.
What's that mean?
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave.
Get out. Previously, NAR had a rule that we offered compensation to the broker. Well, they said that was antitrust, and that's what the jury went with. So now we have to make it very clear that the seller does not have to offer compensation to the other side. The state of Texas, it's always been like that. All offers of compensation are negotiable, and there's a paragraph that's required. It's been added to all the forms. Conspicuously disclose to sellers and obtain seller approval for any payment or offer of payment that the listing broker or seller will make. Must be, everything has to be in writing. They've added that to paragraph 5 of the listing agreement. Okay, that says once submitted, they had 150 days. Well, we're past that. That was August 17th that went into effect. The next biggest step for this will be the judge approving it, which will be sometime in October. Every indication is the judge is going to move forward with it. They've already seen the settlement. So why should they even use a realtor? Can't you sell your house on your own?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Get sued.
Hmm?
And get sued.
Possibly get sued. Okay, so why? If I'm a for sale by owner, how would you convince me to use your services?
Tell you that about our team. Tell you procedures and things that we obtain and provide as.
Okay,
My first question would be, why don't you want to use a real?
yeah. I don't want to pay you. You have an expert guide. You have someone who's trained in negotiations. If you haven't taken the negotiation class, negotiation class.
You think about me to the mic when y'all are talking, because I can't do y'all in another room. Yes, you are. You see, I'm done.
Yeah, we have a network of contacts and vendors to refer people for. Got the addendas and contract disclosure knowledges, objective information and opinions. You ever had a seller that wants to be told what they want to be told? Well, did you hire me to say yes, or did you hire me to give you my professional opinion?
I tell sellers, you don't hire me to sell your house because anybody can sell your house. You can sell your house by your own, on your own. You hire me to make sure that you get the closing and you can get the best deal negotiated.
Protect them. They're always on your side, up to date with experience, a rock during the emotional times, fair and ethical treatment, and strong code of ethics. Why is it advantageous for a seller to have a representative for the buyer? The buyer to be represented.
So they understand the terms of the contract and it's easier to negotiate.
Yes, okay. What
You'll
else?
get sued afterwards.
Yeah, let's hope. What else?
Smoother.
Smoother, okay. Probably have serious buyers. Does anyone take a buyer out without having a pre-approval letter? Does anybody meet with the seller or a buyer without first doing a background check on them, at least through Forewarn or Google them? So there's safety issues. Market exposure. A realtor, with us, we're gonna put it on the MLS, which is gonna reach out to 40,000 agents in the state. Professional guidance, the buyer, they're gonna be guided through these forms and negotiating. No misunderstanding. If there's somebody on the side who's not represented, it gets real tricky for us as the listing agent. What do I say? What can I not say? How do I negotiate on behalf of the seller without making it look like I represent the customer? First time home buyers, they may not have extra funds that they're gonna use to pay their buyer, agent. Unless delays when executing an offer. All right, we're gonna talk a little bit about TREC rules. What to do prior to listing. We're gonna go through the listing agreement. We'll go through about every paragraph in the listing agreement. We'll talk about the seller's disclosure. We'll talk about mud, lids, PIDs, PUDs. Drainage districts, all of those have to be disclosed per the state legislature. Wire fraud and fixture leases. All right, geographical competency. State of Texas says that we are licensed to practice real estate in the entire state. State of Texas is 268,820 square miles. If Texas was overlaid on Europe, it would encompass 8 different countries. El Paso is closer to Denver than what it is to Houston.
12.5 hours to get there.
Yeah,
They're basing area.
it is, we can fit 15 states, the smaller states, into the area of Texas. So that's 15 different licenses. It takes about 11 hours to drive from Texas east to west. I think it takes longer than that.
It took me 12.5 to get from Dallas, from El Paso to here, but I was basing.
Oh. Houston metro area is 10,000 square miles.
Did you know that if you go from the very tippy top of, what we consider Houston, all the way down to the very south,
Mhm.
it's as long as the Long Island Expressway
It's
in,
huge.
in New York State.
The city of Houston alone covers 665 square miles. So why do I say that?
Because you can't be competent. in all areas.
You cannot be competent in all areas, exactly. So what the brokerage has said you can practice real estate in the county of Houston and counties that touch Harris County. If you're going outside of that, you must have written permission prior to doing it. If not, you're practicing outside of the brokerage and you're responsible for everything on that. Now, with that, you need to know who are the local title companies. Do you have them? Do you have contact people? What are the local schools? What are their mascots? Is the county in a groundwater conservation district or in a subsidence district? Why is that important? For a buyer. If it's a subsidence district, that means that we're using up the groundwater and the elevation is dropping. My house in Richmond is 74 feet above sea level. If it drops, what's gonna happen? Flooding, more flooding. Groundwater conservation districts. They put that in place to protect our groundwater, so it's gonna affect how they can drill wells. If you're selling rural property, they need to know that. Could there be zoning? Different counties have different rules, different municipalities have different rules. Is there a school district or is there multiple school districts? What's going on with major construction? Roads, highways, right of ways. You know, in Fort Bend County, they're taking a lot of property through eminent domain. Wharton County, city of Wharton, they're putting in some levies, 7 of them. While they're putting those in, they're claiming eminent domain, so they're taking people's property. Is that something I want to know as a buyer? Local market issues. One, do you belong to the local board of realtors? So that's how you're gonna be able to do your CMAs. And also be able to get opening to for the lockboxes. An agent in Houston decided they're gonna sell property in College Station. They sold the property. After they sold, the buyers find out that the road, 2-lane road behind them is going to be 4 lanes with a median. So it was going from having a little bit of green space to their backyard. They didn't want that. So they filed a Trek complaint. Trek went to that agent and said, well, I wasn't aware of that. I work in Houston. They had public hearings on that road for 5 years. Trek awarded or fined the agent $7,000. They fined the brokerage. And the gentleman is being sued by those buyers in civil court for malpractice. Yes.
There's some projects, for instance, the Houston Dallas Railroad project, so it starts in Houston, but it
It's gonna
extends.
go all the way up to Dallas.
So if there's some property, say in Huntsville, which is part of that project, but if you are dealing with properties connected with the project, can you go sell in Huntsville?
Are you geographically competent? What county is Huntsville in?
Waller.
Waller?
Still Waller.
It's still in our.
So if you don't know the answer immediately.
You're not geographically competent to sell in that area.
No,
Right.
I have run into that problem because I do farm and ranch up there, and I run into that problem, I look at the map that they drafted out, and I tell my clients, here is the map, this is where it's projected to be, but it can move left or right. Are you okay getting that close to this potential future?
Leave it up to them.
You know, and leave it up to them. But here, I gave them the knowledge because we should all know about this by now. But if you just moved here, you don't know about it. So, but you need to provide them with all of that information and let them to decide. Because then that gets you out of trouble, and document that you provided that to them, that you can't come back to.
You're the source of the source, never the source. But you have to be geographically competent, so you even know what you need to be looking for. Do y'all know where the fault lines are? In Houston?
One-on-one point.
Yep. It's like-
Geriatric.
Yeah, it's like 8 of them. We haven't had movement. Well, I've been around. Okay. We say you're competent in those areas, or you can work in those areas. We leave it up to you to decide if you're competent to work in Spring in Galveston Island. Who knows where the intercoastal waterway is? Who can tell me right now where the intercoastal waterway is? Yes, use the mic. Use the mic, please. Okay, if y'all couldn't answer that right away, you are not confident to sell in Galveston, on Galveston Island. All right, so just take that off of your plate. Intercoastal waterway has to be disclosed by law. It runs through Galveston Bay between the mainland and Galveston. And it runs all the way up to the seaboard, all the way to.
It's better to get a referral fee than to get sued, but
Yes, it's easier to pay a referral fee than a retainer. Retainers for your teeth. Right? Both of them are expensive, never mind. What Trek says the broker has to do is maintain records. We have to maintain them for a minimum of 4 years unless it's destroyed by natural causes. That's gonna be all of your disclosures. Commission agreements such as listing agreements, buyer's representation agreements, any other written agreements. The short form that Michael was talking about, That has to be submitted for review. You must maintain it. All substantial communications between parties of the transaction. So if you're sending an email, you need to keep that. You need to upload it for the brokerage. If you're using text messages, you need to download all of those and upload them so you have them.
I don't know how to download my text messages.
You need to learn.
Okay.
Do you want to add anything?
Sure.
Okay.
What he's saying is super important because, I mean, can I share that?
I think so.
I guess, it's not over with. I'm in a lawsuit right now. Right now, I'm in a lawsuit, and if I had all the text messages and communication with those people, then we would be in a better position than we are. You know, I mean, so, lesson learned, we get lazy, we get busy, but keep all of those text messages, because this was 3-4 years ago. And so it's important, so I am, you know,
Very diligent now. about your
very
text.
diligent about my text messages. I mean, even if you can only screenshot them and upload, so that's what I do to my assistants. I just screenshot it and send it to my VAs.
Save them
And they
on.
upload
You can
it.
email it to yourself.
Email to yourself.
You can email to
But there's
yourself.
more stuff.
Emails.
Yeah, I don't have all my stuff linked.
But then if I have to take all those emails and put them in a folder.
Yeah,
Right,
well-
and that's what somebody else, yeah.
Right.
The solution for that, there's a system called HubSpot that integrates your email, text, and phone calls recorded, but it's called HubSpot. And you would kind of collect everything
Could you spell
automatically.
it?
Hub, like HUB, spot.
Spots.
And
Okay.
that's actually good in the court system, they'll actually look at that as
They'll look at
opposed to a picture, they might be saying,
So
doctor.
it would integrate everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you subscribe, you can put your phone and you connect your phone and all the message, emails and calls could be recorded if you connected through the website. So the beauty of that is that for legal reasons,
Yeah,
it's all in one place,
That's
any
awesome.
timestamp,
That is.
any site, bam, 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 bam.
Once you
And also
do
has
that,
a security compliance issue with that, I mean,
With, you know, like, information leaking out.
I don't know what the system is, but I would imagine not, because it's already stuff that's been going in between you and text messages or emails. But
You got an Android, they got SMS backup, frozen backup, all your text messages. iPhone's got iPhone actually has a lot more than Android does, so it's a paid service, but it'll back everything up and store everything for you.
and when, like, years ago, the Office, when this first came out, the Office was really promoting all the different apps on your phone.
Yep.
And I knew we had like 4 or 5 of them that you should use, so we just need to find what those are and share it with everybody again. Because like I said, I think this is the long drawn out process, being questioned for 6 hours by 5 attorneys is not fun. You're freaking out.
Can I ask a
So,
question about,
sure.
what's classified as a designated supervisor, and is there an exact rule to?
I am the designated supervisor.
You are the designated
Yes,
supervisor,
for the
so
entire
my
board.
first transaction that I will do, you will oversee it with me.
Well, you're with the coach, right?
So the coach will be a
Yeah,
designated
the coach,
supervisor?
the coach is your coach, but I'm ultimately responsible for it, just like the broker,
Okay,
okay? Yeah. The broker cannot step away from what they're expected to do, but they can have a licensed supervisor who also helps out with that. And then we have the coaches also. And I'm always available for questions.
And you're actually a broker too, right?
Yes, I'm a broker. Mhm.
That means you had to take 900 hours.
Yeah, but I did it years ago, so. And I took the test a long time ago. I don't think I could pass it now. I know I couldn't because Dan passed his and he was asking me questions. I
You
didn't
didn't
know.
have to.
can I just clarify that?
Sure.
I'm sorry, so my first transaction, I will go to my coach, she will
Yes.
oversee, and then she'll send it to you for
Yes.
compliance.
Well, yeah.
Okay,
they'll walk
so
you
my
through that.
interaction with you though is limited,
It's
all the
limited
interaction
to-
will be with coach.
Mainly.
Load it on LoopNet and then it will go in
Yeah, you load it into command. Command, yeah. And all of those, anything you're using for your emails, your text message, put them in command. Then let the brokerage worry about it. We're responsible for keeping those. Let us worry about it. So you don't have to worry about your computer.
Oh,
Or anything like that. Yeah, that's even worse because by federal law, if your computer gets hacked, you have to pay for 1 year of credit monitoring for anybody who had information on your computer.
What? Can you repeat that? If your computer is hacked or you lose your computer, you're responsible to pay for, what is it, security breach or, for everybody that's on the computer, or any of your clients.
Your clients, yeah.
Any of your clients, because that computer is now got, whoever has that computer has all that data information. So if you lose it or if you get hacked, just, like us with the data breaches. Now, so you as a real estate professional, you have
As
to,
a business owner.
it's a business, as a business owner, you have their application on your computer and it got stolen. So now you have to pay for them to have.
Just don't save it onto your hard drive.
Google Drive.
Google Drive, there's ways you can do it. We also have to keep all appraisals, BPOs and CMAs. And we have our KW form that we get the sellers that says that you gave them a CMA and they initialed and signed it, better have that CMA someplace. We also have to keep all offers. So if you're making offers for your buyers, they all have to be kept. A couple of years ago, when we were getting 40 offers on a listing, every one of those had to be downloaded and kept. Not only is it required for the state as per track, but it also really helps you out if anything comes up with fair housing. Okay, the broker is also responsible for proficiency. Now, when you get out of school, we expect you to be able to sell residential real estate. Did they teach anything about leases? No, so that's something the brokerage is responsible for. Commercial, farm and ranch. Condos is a total different beast.
Tell me about it.
We've got some people that are excellent with condos. So if you're working with one, find out who the expert is and ask questions. Couple of years ago now, they said that if you do any type of new transaction, new specialty, the broker must have coaching or mentoring for the first 3 times. We've got that in place. All listing paperwork is required to be submitted for review within 3 days of signing the listing agreement. Yeah. Today, closing. Monday. On the listing agreement in paragraph 5A1, she put 3%, which is total commission. And then in A2, she put 3%. So you've got 3% here, which is total, and she's giving it right to the co-op agent. Well, this agent's getting paid 0. So read the contracts. That's what we're gonna go over. And with that, if I had gotten it 3 days after it was put on the market, which was in July, I picked up the phone today and said, hey, did you mean to do this? They could get an amendment done before it's under contract, where it becomes even more hassle. So compliance shouldn't be looked at as bad. We're looking at everything to make sure the initials are there. You've got the right addendas. If you need to put some other addenda or amendment to things, give us a chance to look at it.
Feel free to make you learn.
And he saved my butt the other day because I did have my listing documents and my offer. I was the listing agent. And on my listing agreement, we had 6%. But I had an agent from another brokerage send over her specialty agreement, broker to broker agreement, saying that she's gonna get paid 3%. And we all signed it because I was like, okay, he said 6, she said 3, great, let's go. He called me, he says, hey, do you realize your client is gonna pay 9%? I was like, what do you mean? He says, well, you checked this and he's paying 6%, and she brought hers, and her document says seller to broker, not broker to broker.
Yeah.
So she was gonna get paid twice. So fortunately, I put my paperwork early enough, so he caught it, so then we could amend it and make sure that everything is correct. So. It's not a bad thing that we have all these
Set of
It
eyes,
is.
yes.
and with the changes in the documents, we're not all 100% familiar with. So.
Like
this-
the beaches classic.
this-
I did the same thing. I sent a listing, I did everything by hand with my client, and before I had my client sign electronically, I came back and said, Mitch, is this correct? It just made me feel so much better because we are judgmental.
Right,
Yeah, I have a question. Are we gonna go over that? Because
go
I mean,
over what?
the listing.
Yes, we're gonna go over the entire listing agreement.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Because because we're going through all these changes, is it possible for you to not sign the CBA and then just ask the other agent to send the other form? Like the compensation between,
Yeah,
or what is it, or,
compensation agreement broke.
right, right,
2402.
right. Is it better just ask them to send the 2406? Even though you know your seller is willing to pay that
Yeah, you
commission?
need to have, well, the addenda you can't send until you have a contract. The compensation agreement is that broker, because I'm the one that negotiated the compensation. And what seller told me that I can give the co-op agent X percentage of that. So that we get it in writing, which we used to use the MLS for. We had it documented there. Now you need the 2402, it's compensation agreement.
Before we get into the negotiation. of
Yes.
The offer.
Yes.
Cause you wanna lock her in or him in to what she's offering you.
And you also want to know if the seller decided not to offer any compensation, then I'm gonna need to negotiate that in the contract, in the offer. That kind of goes into the contracts class.
Oh my God, this is so,
Hey, when you're taking a new listing, verify who the owner is. Owner fraud is big. We were talking about it several times at the association meeting last month. You can do that. Check the tax records. Do a title search. Yes,
I have a customer who said that he's going to sell his house. But when we checked the tax record, it showed that his deceased sister was the owner of the property and he's the executor of the estate. So how do we take the listing in whose name?
Has it been through probate?
if it's been probated, okay, then it's gonna be so.
Estate of,
Yeah, and we'll get to that in paragraph 1. You can do a title search, or I'm sorry, a deed search through the county to check that.
Your title company, your preferred title company, this is why you need to get a relationship with a title company. Because when you do take a listing and you need a favor, you can call them or email them and say, hey, can you check and make sure that this owner is the right one? Because you don't want to find that out once you've got a contract and you're about to close.
And with probate, which you brought up, you want to make sure that all the errors have been established. We had one that was getting around the closing and the deceased gentleman's girlfriend showed up with a son who had rights to the property, who had not given permission to sell the property. Everything came to a stop. Last month, there was a Trek complaint. And Trek found the agent guilty because they did not do his due diligence on this estate to know who could sell the property. And he went into contract. You will have sellers, especially lately, that may call you. Say, hey, I need you to sell my property. This is the address. I'm, someplace else. Just send me the paperwork. Do your due diligence on it. One thing they suggested, which I never thought of, find out who the last time it was closed. You can always call the title company and ask them, would you call this buyer and see if they're selling the property? They said, do a Zoom call with them. So you have face to face. A lot of times it's a fraudulent seller. They won't want to do that. And what one agent said, when she's done that, partway through the Zoom call, she says, will you show me your ID?
Yeah.
Right then, they have to produce this ID, so it hasn't been altered. A couple of years ago, we had this happen here. And the seller produced a ID which had all the right information on it. Then we're in closing and the true owner shows up with the ID. That one was a very difficult one. Title actually was able to work it out. Always, it is your responsibility to go to the property. You need to walk the property, know what's going on. You show up and you knock on the door saying, hey, I'm here to look at your house. And they say, who are you and why are you here? And they're probably not telling their home. It is scary. So it's doing a little bit more due diligence on our part.
Or they call you and they say, oh, it's a vacant house, you go over there and there's squatters in there.
Oh,
And got a whole nother bag of tricks you have to allow to get them out.
there was a article I saw yesterday where an agent decided to do a drive-by at his vacant listing, and it was actively being burglarized. So he didn't confront, he called, yeah, he called the police, and then he had to call his client in Europe and say, hey. And he called them before the police got there, your house is being broken into, I've already got the police on the way.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
about the due diligence about ownership of the property? Wouldn't that fall underneath the title? Can you do the title?
But you don't wanna wait till it gets to title.
Okay, so you just don't want to because you're eating up your time, but if you do
Well,
go to
also,
title.
if you don't know who the owner is and it's not the true owner, you already have a buyer, you have an executed contract.
There you go, lots.
Yeah, you got a lawsuit, and we can still be responsible for the buyer's compensation on the other side.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering. So
Yeah,
title doesn't say going to title and then finding out the answer during title
it's too
is
bad.
not, yeah, that's not good. Okay,
No.
that's what I was wondering.
But having a title company will take minutes.
Yes.
What Tara said, that you can call. You know, I this just doesn't feel right. Trust your gut.
Yeah, it's not on every transaction.
No, and it's actually,
Yeah.
for the number of transactions we do, it's rare, but it did happen 2 months ago. When we had it happen.
Yeah.
So it still is happening, just be what they told us in the military, stay alert, stay alive.
Yep.
If the property is held in another name or an entity, some type of LLC, S corp, you're gonna wanna know who has legal rights to bind that entity. Look at the tax record, it says Dan Mitchell Realty Group as the owner. And you're gonna wanna get from me my articles of incorporation to show who has the legal right to sign on that corporation. So when you do the listing of paperwork, it's paragraph 1 is gonna be Dan Mitchell Realty Group signatory. Mitchell Rainey. You need to have documentation of that. Horror stories. San Antonio, they're selling property for a church. They get the title contacting the LLC, and it took 3 people to sell, and only one of them, and the other 2 didn't even know who was selling the property. Everything came to a stop.
In case of a church, they keep changing, the.
Who has the legal right?
Every 2 years, some new person becomes president or
Right.
whatever.
So you
have
need to
keep
get
track of who's the next.
get documentation.
It's also, you'll see with trusts and different things like that, if the house is not in the person's name. Or it's in the company, if you do work with investors and it's in the company's name, you have to have who's the signator on the paperwork.
Because what does an entity not have that is required when you go to sign something?
Ability to sign.
Hands. You can't do a signature if you don't have a hand. You can't get XYZ entity to walk into this office right now. It's an entity, it's out here. It's a person, always gonna be a person.
Oh, yeah.
Little AI, right? Check the MLS. You're taking a listing, check the MLS. Was it sold before? Look at the pictures. Look to see if there's a seller's disclosure. It's material facts. You want to know that and make sure it's being properly disclosed. I like it because, you call me. I'm gonna go over to her house. Well, I look up and it's been listed before. So I know what it looked like, 5 years ago. When I walk into the property, does it look just like it did 5 years ago, or have they done improvements on it? I always go in with a range for my CMA. Once I see the property and I was like, am I gonna go this side, am I gonna go a little bit more this side? Gives you a little headway on it. Look, Do an internet search of the property. Just Google it, see what pops up. Now, do you have to disclose if there was a death on the property because of natural causes?
No,
No. Okay, but if I Google it, is that gonna be a question that a buyer may ask? If I know that in advance, when I'm at the listing appointment, say, hey, I Googled your property and I saw that there was a death on the property. When I'm asked, and I will be asked, how do you want me to handle that?
Your seller has to give you permission.
Your seller has to give you permission, the seller has to tell you how they want it in. Because if the sellers don't disclose that, you know who's going to?
the neighbor,
The neighbor. Yeah,
because neighbors like to talk.
Always talk to the neighbors if you're a buyer.
yeah, if you're out and they're out, talk to them. Or anything else that you may see on the property. Do an internet search of the owners. You've heard of cyber stalking? No, it's not cyber stalking, it's cyber listening. Okay, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see that I just turned 60. Right, now, when you walk into my house, does that give you something that we could connect on? No, oh, son, you just had a birthday. I got a call for on property time for a listing. When I Googled her, I found out she was divorced. She had one child. I found out that she was staunch Republican. I mean, she had given enough money to John McCain and it had to be publicly disclosed. I found out that she was a daughter of the Republic of Texas. I found out she was a daughter of the Revolution. So I knew all that. When I walked into that house, was I a Republican for a day? As I'm walking through the house, she had a framed map of the Republic of Texas. So, oh, that's really cool. My second, 3 times great grandfather signed the Declaration of Independence for the Republic of Texas. Did we have a report? I would have never brought that up if I didn't already find out what she had on social media.
Yeah, when you're talking to her, don't say, oh yeah, by the way, sorry about your divorce.
Yeah.
Because she'll then know you've been stalking her.
Yeah.
How you bring that up.
Yeah.
Have the information, but don't find a
Yeah,
way.
don't just walk in and say, ooh,
Yeah. I heard you were a daughter of the Republic or
Yeah.
whatever.
really like John McCain.
Yeah.
And you also find out if there's any issues with that person. Use forewarn. It's not 100%, but it'll give you a heads up. Is this someone that I want to take someone with me? Cause I don't want to be in a closed up house alone with them.
I had one that had 16 felony convictions. The wife had 4. And I had Bill C on speed dial and I had a text set up. I called Bozart. Bill C, my wife, and I said, I've got text ready to go. I'll text you within 5 minutes of me getting in there to let you know that everything's okay, everybody need help. And
They alert, stay alive. My husband would call me 10 minutes. I tell my clients who I was with, I will get a phone call in 10 minutes. If I don't answer, 911 will be called. So they were ready for it. When I got it, I picked my phone, hey, everything's going great.
Yes, I was just saying yes. My brother-in-law,
Yeah.
we didn't do that for you. Yeah.
I used forewarn yesterday, I had somebody want to see a rental property, and I plugged in the number and saw all of the information. 80% of it was traffic tickets. Well, got to the house. Fortunately, I was on the phone with my coach, and I was like, hey, just hold on the phone while I greet this guy, and if everything's good, I'll hang up. And then, got to talking to him, and he's a truck driver. It was like, thought to myself, no wonder why you have so many tickets. But it made sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that forewarned me, and I saw, all of his tickets, and then do it for yourself. I'm like,
your friend.
do it. You're like, oh my God, wow. Yeah, because I mean,
It's one party.
put your phone number in a forewarn and see what comes up, because if because other people are gonna see that.
Yeah.
So, then there's a way to take it out.
They alert, know what's going on. Visit the property, visit the neighborhood. Those are kind of things you want to look at before you're running out to show a or list a property. Now for our checklist, of course, you have to have an IABS, first substantial communication. Does it have to be signed? It does not. You just have to be able to prove delivery. So if they don't want to sign it, you send it through dot loop, you've got proof of delivery. And I've never asked for it to be signed. I may ask for it to be acknowledged. It's a lot easier to acknowledge something than would you sign this? It's required.
And through Outlook, it tells us whether they opened it or not.
Yeah, and it tells you the IP of the address of the computer that it was opened on. But you can show delivery. And that's the first thing Trek looks for if there's a complaint. You must have the residential listing agreement exclusive right to sell, which is TXR 1101, updated August 23rd of this year. A seller's disclosure, unless it falls in one of the categories where they don't have to give it. We have the seller landlord KW disclosure and general information. When we put that together, it took 5 different documents that we used to give and put it in one. It's like the most common things, and things that I don't always remember to go over. I've got paragraph by paragraph when I go over it. If you don't know what the groundwater conservation districts are in subsidence districts. You wanna know what those are, where they are? No?
I don't know where they are.
So you've never gone over the KW Memorials disclosure.
Oh, yes, I have.
It's in there. It's in there. So if you say you don't know it.
What?
It's in the, this is, it's
Oh,
on
where
the,
did, oh, did you read through it?
yes.
Oh.
And you should be going down. You don't wanna get hung up.
Where the subsidence zones were.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
thought.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I don't remember seeing where they were.
But it does spell it out though, we
It
read the
spells it out.
document.
It spells it
Okay.
Yeah.
So we should know.
Yes, sir.
Tax record, what do
Yes.
you need for tax record?
We just need to see who the owner is. That's what I'm looking for.
You have to initial it.
Just a copy of it. A printout, yeah. A printout, put it, if the name doesn't match, then send the deed. Give us something to show this is the person. If there's spouses on there and one's deceased. Put a note, you know. John is deceased, and we'll see the probate later on in the,
But the tax record, there's a hyperlink on MLS.
yes, yeah, you can use that. And then we want a copy of the active MLS, the full report. Yes, Jocelyn,
Can you talk about when there's an LLC on the tax?
already did.
Oh, okay.
Will you repeat that? The LLC on the tax record?
Yeah, then you have to know who the signatory is for the LLC. Okay? All right, seller's disclosure. When do you not have to give it?
Auction.
Foreclosure, auction, you have to give it.
Construction.
That's the-
When the person is dead, also,
What's that?
when the family is selling it and the person, owner is dead.
Yes, if it's being sold by the estate of. Now, if I've passed away and she inherited my property. When she inherits it, then she has to give a seller's disclosure. So new construction never lived in an estate, a trust. Family to family,
I had one where the house was valued
oh yeah,
less than whatever, what's
yeah,
that?
less than 10%. The improvements are less than 10% of the value of the property.
Basically, it's falling.
Basically, it's falling apart. I err on the side of disclosure. I don't want to be the one determining that this isn't worth everything, so. And if you ever come down the hallway towards my office, and you say, Mitch, should we disclose? Before you get your mouth shut, I'm gonna say yes. You have to ask, disclose. Do you have to give a seller's disclosure if it's a flip property?
Yes.
Yes,
Is checking unknown on everything absolve you? No.
right. Seller shield. If you're not familiar with seller shield, get familiar with seller shield.
Question
Yeah.
for you. So when you're looking at a state property. And then there's a whole list of, so there is no disclosure. But there is a whole list of improvements that the kids are notifying my client of.
Mhm.
Is that, I mean, I know that's information, but
If it's the estate of, they still don't have to do a seller's disclosure, but they have to disclose material facts.
Okay, so that's just extra info.
It's just extra info.
Okay.
I had one and I said, what's the last time you've been to the house? Oh, we go there, we used to visit my dad all the time. Okay, then you've got some idea about the
Yeah.
house,
And
so better to fill it out than not.
we're talking about sellers. Our fiduciary is to protect that seller.
So the only time we don't need a seller's disclosure is if it's a brand new construction.
Brand new construction, never been lived in those other ones.
So as the listing agent,
Mhm.
so just remember, we're here doing the listing, so I'm a preferred listing agent for a builder. But I don't need a seller's disclosure on my MLS listings because it's new construction.
Go to Seller Shield. Okay,
Best thing in the world.
this was set up by a lawyer who was represented for Keller Williams. He also served on the broker lawyer committee. And he knows from statistics that a seller's gonna be sued, it's gonna be in the first 3 years and it's gonna be based off the seller's disclosure. This system, it's free for them to fill it out. It makes the seller hit every single box. If it says, it explains it for them. It says if they need additional information, they can't go further until they put additional information in there. If they choose to, they can pay for a service which is gonna give so many hours of legal representation when they get sued later on. But at least send it to them and let them use it to fill it out. Put yourself in, you're gonna have to know your NERDS number, that's your NAR number. Register and then do a second email address and send it to yourself. And so you can see exactly what your buyer's gonna see.
So is that like a protection or?
It's another layer of protection. You make sure that they're gonna fill everything out. I send more seller's disclosures back because of additional information is needed. Like you missed one box. Seller's Shield, when I get to Seller's Shield, I'm doing this.
Yep.
Because I know everything's gonna be filled out. I stop and I check to see if there's any lease items, if there's an on-site sewer, and then I go down and see if they mark previous.
And doesn't it automatically, like if you check that you
Yeah.
have a
On-site sewer,
yeah, on-site sewer, then it's gonna have them sign that document, that's.
It automatically gives you the lead,
that they stamp.
Yeah, if you put in the age of the property, then it'll attach the.
and they can type as much as they want in there without, attach anything to it, it's. I don't know why we don't make it mandatory,
That is my,
it's ridiculous.
in October.
After all the stupid mandatory stuff we have that we don't need, this is something we do need.
Probably in October, after our risk management meeting.
It
we'll be.
gives your clients, like, I mean, I used to get this all the time, French drains.
Mhm.
You're like, what are French drains? I mean, well, if you don't have a pool or you don't have bad drainage in your house, you may not know what French drains are. So it helps the seller fill it all out.
And this system's gonna give them the explanation.
Not
We're
you.
going to.
So you can't. do
I'm
it.
overall pretty lazy. I don't wanna work harder than I have to. Look into it. All right. Now let's get down to the. All right, y'all familiar with agents only, right? Okay. And right down to compliance. I've got sample contracts. Finish populating. Okay. The listed agreement. Every document that's in there has the red line, kind of an explanation of what you may want to put in that paragraph. Paragraph 1, who are the parties to this agreement? The sellers. No, this is listed agreement, so it's gonna be the seller and the brokerage, Keller Williams Memorial. Give us as much contact information as you can. And we're not gonna call your clients unless we absolutely have to. And there's been times when we need to get a hold of a client. Either the agent wasn't around, they're on vacation. We had once where the agent passed away.
Yeah, remember, these listings are are the broker's listings, not ours. So the listings belong to the brokerage. So I was gonna use that reason, we have an agent passed away, and we needed to contact all of the sellers, so we could notify them and give them to somebody else in the group.
And then Keller Williams Memorial, 1220 Augusta, number 300, Houston, Texas, 77057. And the brokerage telephone number. Seller appoints broker as seller's sole exclusive real estate agent and grants broker the exclusive right to sell the property. That's what our job is. Paragraph 2 is going to be the property. Why don't you just stay in here? You keep running back and forth, you get your steps.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Yes.
Oh, okay, on that, what if something happened to somebody? So let's say, God forbid, I die. Yeah, is there somewhere where I can say, if I die, I want Michael McSorley to take care of me in my current?
Damn, Skip.
Yeah, there is not. But should that
I would
happen,
not want somebody I don't like to start. My listings, you know?
no, it is recorded. This is being recorded, so now we have it documented. Yeah.
Everybody here.
Of course.
But you know,
Of
there are
course.
some agents I feel are not as smart as others.
We'll make it happen.
Well, you can't do that because it's not your listing. It's a brokerage.
Make sure you know what I want.
Okay,
If I die.
get with the broker. All right, so property. What's the legal description of the property? It's the entire legal description. So you'll see lot 1, block 5, River Park West, section 5.
Thanks, sir.
If you put lot 5, block 1, can you find that legal description in the city of Houston?
No, you're gonna find a lot.
Probably hundreds of them.
Yeah, well,
Even in the same subdivision, because there's different sections to the entire thing. You will find, some of them don't have a lot of block, so you can put it all on this next line. If it won't fit there, put see special provisions, and you can write it out in special provisions. Has to be the complete, full legal description. In what city is it located in? And you must have the county. Judge threw out an entire contract because it did not have the county listed. And then what is the street address? What is it known as? What do you put in your GPS to find that house? It's important to go over paragraph 2 with improvements. So anything that is attached to the structure, anything that's permanently attached there, or anything where you have to take something off to get to it, or when you take it down, it's gonna leave holes. Except for the bead holes. Yeah. All right, so that's gonna be permanently installed and built in. The appliances. Balances, screens, shutters, awnings, water wall carpeting. You never had someone take the wall carpeting out of the house?
And this is crazy because my first deal, I didn't know, and I was buying Bose speakers for the buyer, because my listing agreement didn't disclose that they were not leaving the Bose speaker. Now, the brackets have to stay because they're attached, but we didn't disclose any of that. So when my client moved out, I'll never forget where I was when I got that phone call. I'm like, okay.
Solar panels,
Thanks.
fixtures, or
Solar panels or fixtures. They're attached to
they
the structure.
have to assume the contract.
That is a whole different 3-hour class. Yeah, solar panels are a challenge.
But before you take a listing with solar panel, talk to somebody
Yeah.
that has already done it, and we will guide you through that.
Ceiling fans, those could be a big deal. Someone puts in a nice ceiling fan, they want to take it with them.
As you walk through the house, a good rule is to ask the sellers, you know, I had a lady with the knobs on the daughter's bathroom cabinets were antiques. And, you know, who would have thought knobs on a bathroom? But she wanted to take them with her. So I said, take them off now.
Yes, that's what I was gonna
You know,
say.
the chandelier, great grandma chandelier, take it down now before we take pictures. Statues, we have a lot of that going on with the
Yes.
art statues in the yard or the garden.
Mhm.
Like it's a heavy piece of rock that they're gonna leave it. Well, no, they did.
It stayed,
That
it
became a
stays.
huge deal. So when you're taking a listing and you're walking through the house, ask them, is there anything in this room that's sentimental that you're gonna take with you? Yes, replace the ceiling fan now before we take pictures, so we don't have to worry about that.
And if you see something that looks like it's built in, especially bookshelves, if they're framed nicely, you can't tell that they're not. So if I can't tell, just the best objection you ever have is the one you never get. Yeah, did you have a question?
Yes. When I was buying my house, the realtor told me that in Texas, the law is that only the refrigerator and the gas stove has to stay.
Get another realtor, because refrigerators don't have to stay.
Get another realtor.
Uh,
The only thing that's gonna stay,
Washer and dryer.
personal property,
they can-
refrigerator, unless it's a built-in refrigerator, it's personal property. Washer and dryer, personal property.
Stove.
Microwave,
No.
stove stays.
Stay.
Microwave that sits on the counter and screws in, or plugs in,
but they all-
personal property. When it's built in, it stays. Water softeners, kitchen equipment, landscaping, shrubbery, it all
Oh.
stays.
I've heard horror stories, but somebody taking all the rose bushes.
Then someone take 2 oak trees out of the front yard. Yeah, no, it stays. Like Tara said, statuary. Bird baths,
Yeah, the water fountain, the water, the pretty water, rock water.
it stays.
Mhm.
And then you have the following accessories, window air conditioning units, fireplace screens, curtains and rods, blinds, window shades, draperies and rods. Draperies. If you go in, I don't know if you see it as much as you used to, you go into like a primary bedroom and you'd have the drapes that match the shams, that match the pillows. Well, those are gonna stay. You need to ask about it. Do you want these to stay or are you gonna take them all with you? Security systems that are not fixtures and controls. So that Ring doorbell I have sitting on my mantle, it stays. It's for the security of the home, even though it just plugs in. Garage doors, entry gates, other improvements and accessory controls. I can turn my hot tub on before I leave the house in my backyard. So I would have to, the app I have to do that is going to be transferred to the new buyers at closing. When you get to here and you're talking about those, best advice is ask the seller to change their username and password. So they're all the same. For just those, How many of y'all have a different password and username for every different system you have? Figured you would. Yeah, so put them all the same, it's much easier to transfer it over and you're not giving them username and password that also goes to your bank account. Okay, like Tara said, I walked into a house, showing a house out in Sugar Land. We walked in the hardwood floor, there was 2 large pots with these ficus trees in them, live ficus trees. I don't tell how long they'd been there, but the hardwood floor was black and was all coming up, messed up. Was it an issue for my clients? It was not, because when we opened the door, there was 3 pieces of hardwood, right? As you walked in, and a sign that says, what would look best in your new house?
Oh.
Already, she took care of that objection, and what else did it do? Controlled the cost with the seller. I take these, I'm putting these as an exclusion, and the buyer comes in, are they gonna say, oh, go to Home Depot? Just buy something. No, they're gonna go in there and want something as nice, if not nicer than that. So the seller is controlling the cost. The best objection you're ever gonna have is one that never comes up. All right, so if there's anything in here that the seller wants to take, you're gonna put it as an exclusion. Any improvement or accessory which is seller's not gonna convey, has to be listed. Don't list personal property here. You don't have to put the washer and dryer, refrigerator won't stay. They're not exclusions, they're personal property. Whatever is on here needs to be on the MLS.
Wait, hang on, but you can put washer, dryer and fridge on there if you want to.
You can, but no, is personal property.
Right, but a lot of people will ask,
Mhm.
right, and so if you have it on there, it now becomes a negotiation point. I ask every seller, what do you wanna leave, what do you wanna leave, and whatever they say leave goes on an exclusion. You can negotiate back in later.
Good point.
I did clarify the motion.
And by the way, I got gigged on that from compliance saying you can't have personal property in there. I was like, yeah, you can. I know.
This is an agreement between the broker and, so if you're a primary to an agreement, can you make changes to the agreement? Yeah. Now, if there's anything that is going to be an exclusion, try not to take pictures of it. Now, when you take, like if I took a picture of this room and those were excluded, it'd be really hard not to have it included. So I want to make sure that I'm documenting on the MLS and letting everyone know those are an exclusion.
Like Tara said, take them off before we take pictures.
Take them off when you take a picture. We had a listing where the mantle was excluded. It had been personally built by a family member. It's real hard to take a picture of the room without having the mantle in it. But they put a comment on the picture actually that said mantle is excluded.
Excuse me. Okay. This is not exclusion, but I had a listing where the person was of Indian culture and it had a humongous picture of an elephant with a trunk up in his MLS pictures. And I told him, they gotta come down. And he's like, guilty, I don't think people care, no, here's the interview. I said, no, I'm a realtor, your opinion, although, I'm giving you the brigade version. I was like, your opinion may be sweet and nice, and everything, but there are some people who may not come to the top because they see that picture of that elephant. So that picture has to come down. What we did as a compromise, it came down from my photos and it stayed up. Because as long as I got people to get there, once they arrived and they saw the picture, it didn't stop the sale. So when you know something, speak up.
Same thing, we're in Texas, but some properties, all the deer heads and
Yes.
antelope.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you know, I had a beach house that had all of that in the game room. I'm like, not what you would expect in a beach house,
Yeah.
but it had all of their, you know,
If
zebras and
they
everything.
take them down
Take them down.
and they put them in one of the closets.
Yes,
Make sure you label it.
yes.
I opened a closet with clients. And there was these bed animals looking at me. I did, yes, I did a very manly screen. Very manly screen. Yeah.
But it's true, I showed a house and the bedroom doors were closed, so I knocked, of course. And when I opened it up, it had 26 deer heads laying on, and I probably still have the video on my phone, because I'm like, that just, a whole bedroom full of deer heads.
When you're walking the property, anything that could bias somebody from that property. Stager I had, she was great. She walked into this property and it had a dining room here, nice table, nice chandelier, pictures of the kids, pictures of their boxers. They collected boxers and they had all these little figurines. And she walked in and she made an offer to purchase the boxer, their dog, because they were moving and she liked boxers. And so she offered to buy it. And like, no, we're not selling. She's like, how about the kids? They're really cute. Could I purchase one of them? He's like getting offended at that point. She says, you're selling the house. You're not selling these things. And that's what I saw when I walked in. Okay,
Good job.
it was she's a good stager.
So you have people take, the picture with the elephant with the front up down for the pictures that you're gonna list on MLS, but then you're fine with your client putting it back on the
I
after.
wasn't fine with it by compromise with you.
Yeah.
While you're mentioning had religious significance, were those people Hindu?
Yeah, even you're going to see houses that have a lot of religious stuff in them.
80.
You're selling a product. You're no longer selling your home.
If it had been.
Think about that.
I would have made them take them down as well.
All right, is the property in a mandatory HOA, property owners association, just a yes or no?
Don't take the information from the previous listing.
No, God, no.
Don't take the information from the listings that are around it, verify it yourself.
No.
Uh-huh. What's the list price? How much are they gonna market this property for? You've done your good CMA before you ever get to the property. Like I said, I have a range. And each person decides how they're gonna present their CMA. I did it one way, Tara probably does it a total different way. Hers was probably better than mine. Now, this is what we're gonna market the property as. It can change. It's up to the sellers. They can take more, they can take less. I always question when you look at the MLS though, the price is going up. So it didn't sell for
Yeah.
6 months at 100,000, so let's put it on the market for 120. All right, when does it begin? When's the listing going to begin? Today. I want it to begin the day I'm there. So I'm gonna put September 12th. And then how long are you gonna run it for? You've done a good CMA, correct? What do you find on your CMA in the lower right-hand side?
The days on market.
Cumulative days on market. So I know in this neighborhood, it takes about 4 months to get something sold or get it under contract. Maybe I do it for 6 months, maybe I do it for a year, it's up to you. I don't personally like taking anything that's 30 days. So we're just gonna test the market. I'm gonna spend money in that first 30 days. Yes,
If you put it on MLS saying coming soon, does it count as days on market? The coming soon?
no,
No,
No.
doesn't start.
okay? So I like today, the day that I'm there, and then however long you're gonna run it for. Now, you see B, it says if seller interested in a binding written contract to sell the property before the date this listing begins, and the contract is binding on the date this listing begins, this listing will not commence and will be void. That's why I want it today. I don't want to wait until October 1st. Because Tara is sharp. She could go into that seller and say, hey, I don't have a listing agreement yet, and she could get them under contract and I'm out. Or they could get an offer from the neighbor, I'm out. We'll talk about marketing at paragraph 8. All right, paragraph 6. Brokers' compensation. Brokers' compensation or sharing of compensation between brokers is not set by law nor fixed, controlled, recommended, or suggested by the Association of Realtors, MLS, or any other service. Brokers' compensation is fully negotiable. Brokers independently will determine their fees. That's the paragraph that's been added to everything. Complete either 5A or 5B. Not both. So paragraph A, 5A is when the seller is going to pay us as a listing broker and given us permission to offer the other agent compensation.
That's where that agent with 3%.
Yes, this is where the agent had, well, when earned and payable, seller will pay broker, insert total amount of broker and other broker. If you come into my office, you'll see a little sign that says RTFC.
The contract.
Yeah. Total amount, so A, are you doing it for a percentage, or are you doing it for a flat fee? Do you know how much it costs you to list a property? Tara, do you have that number? What's your cost?
1,100.
1,100, okay. So she knows she needs to clear 1,100 plus to turn a profit. We're in the market to turn a profit. So if she's taking a lower listing, lower dollar amount listing, she may do a flat fee of 1,500. Then you're making money, but you're still helping somebody out. B, I don't know what we're gonna use that one for, but it's there. Last week I said maybe it's for the Oldsmobile. If broker does not pay other broker that procures a buyer as specified in paragraph 5A2, broker's fee in this paragraph, 5A1, will be reduced by any amount not paid the other broker. Clear as mud, right? Okay, so number 2 is how much of this amount are we going to offer to the co-op broker, the buyer's agent? Now, if the buyer's rep, they only had 1% and I'm offering 3%. That 2% they don't take stays with the seller. That's what that one line said there. So number two,
But how do you know what they have?
you're gonna trust code of ethics, that they're gonna be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
If you really question whether or not they have a buyer's rep, we can request the MLS HAR to get a copy of their buyer's rep. All right, so same thing. If the other broker represents the buyer, what's the percentage of the sales price? Or a flat fee? If the other broker is a sub-agent, what's a sub-agent?
Those are legal in Texas. Okay.
They are legal in Texas. You're thinking about dual agency.
Oh, okay.
This would be, I don't have a buyer's representation agreement. Now you have to have permission from the broker to be a sub-agent. We do not allow sub-agency here. You're always gonna put zero. And as a listing agent, you don't want a sub-agent. A sub-agent is representing your seller, but they're bringing a buyer in. So they're supposed to be negotiating on behalf of the seller, and it's someone I don't even know. Zero.
Do we put the zero in the percentage or in the dollar?
You can
sign?
put it on both. Yes, ma'am.
So if you are a listing party and you receive an offer, so your due diligence is to understand if they have a buyer rep, see if they get an agreement, they get choose it,
You can ask, they don't have to provide it.
they don't have to.
No, it is an agreement between broker and the client.
So as you receive an offer, why would be a good practice?
That's not,
Ask. You're gonna ask for compensation.
that sounds like policing to me.
Yeah,
Like if I have an agreement with my buyer
Mhm.
and I'm not in, you know, that I'm getting 1% or I can always amend that agreement, right? With the
Oh,
buyer,
yes.
if I'm on the buyer
yes.
side.
Yeah, because
it's pretty much, they're gonna be, we're gonna trust.
because if you get an offer and they have an agreement, with the client, or a representation agreement that, I don't know, they're just gonna charge 2%. Should we check in with them before they send us an offer?
No, what does it matter?
You can ask them, he can tell you whatever he wants.
Right, let's say I'm offering 3%,
Okay,
and he's charging 2%,
Okay.
and I'm like, well, I can save 1% to my client.
They're not gonna tell you. They're not.
Because you already have your agreement, this is already an agreement saying with the seller is
Compensate.
gonna compensate. So whatever, and remember, when the buyer is sending you,
Right.
before the buyer sends you an offer, they're sending you that broker to broker agreement saying, what are you offering? So then you know how to,
So they actually want me to be changing their agreement and see if they have, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's up to their broker, our broker, to verify.
So at the listing party, let's say if you want to save your owner 1% or so, like there is no way for us to check how much.
No.
I think I mentioned.
No.
I don't know what to do.
All right, seller authorizes broker to publicly disclose compensation for the other broker as specified in 5A. It's written permission for us to tell another agent when they call us that the seller had agreed for the listing broker to offer this percentage of what the total is. Broker will retain amount specified in paragraph 5A1 as broker's fee if there is no other agent that procures it. So if you get a customer, you're gonna get whatever's in 5A1. You're gonna do more work if you have a customer. You're taking more risk also. All right, now we talked earlier when we first started about the benefits of having a buyer's agent. That's when you're probably gonna get questions. You need to be able to articulate not only your value, but the value to the seller, having another agent on the other side. Now, 5B, the seller is only going to compensate the listing broker. So when earned and payable, seller will pay broker percentage or flat fee. Now, B here, you could use that for intermediary. Since in intermediary, the buyer's rep says that they will pay whatever is offered to the other broker. Well, there isn't another broker.
Woo-hoo! Like that.
That's pretty much what we did before. Yeah. All right, so how much are you going to charge? Just you. This is only your compensation. You're gonna hear different trains of thought. Some people really like 5A. You're gonna get calls. Now, our code of ethics says that you will not filter by what the compensation is. If you have a first-time home buyer that's taking years to collect enough money for their down payment, and oh yeah, you need to come up with another 3%. They're gonna move on to another house. Now, 5B though, and I'm more in the 5B camp. Is up here, who's new and never sold a house? Are you worth 3%? Okay. Could be, someone with almost 20 years experience, probably not. But I've already said you are. I've already said she is worth 3% no matter what. They've also said 3% no matter what the offer looks like. This is what it is. You sent me an offer for half, you still worth 3%.
That's in 5A.
That's 5A. 5B is. Now, you're gonna talk to your seller, of course. Would you offer compensation with the right offer? So it can be negotiated with the contract. So if they come in with a lowball offer, maybe they won't do any type of compensation, but if they come in at a full price, no other, contingencies on there, and they ask for a percentage, then someone may say yes. But it's not automatic.
So do you need a separate amendment for that?
Yes, that's part of the contract. And it's gonna be addenda.
It's funny because I have mixed, sort of conversation with the lawyer and I have to reach out to the agency what's this conversation. And they ask, it depends.
Yep.
It depends, what the offer is.
They can't say that.
They can.
Not what Marilyn got up this the other day about that.
What?
She did. She lit us up. She said agents in Texas suck. Because they keep saying it depends on what they offer us, and you cannot say that.
She said, you got that.
It's already an agreement.
We're gonna cooperate.
Well, right, if it's 5A, you cannot, because it's already agreed upon. No matter what the offer is, they're getting 3% or 8%, whatever you put on there. 5B though, can depend on the offer.
But then the right answer would be, you need to submit your offer with 2406. Or is it 2406, the amendment?
Yes, that's the agenda for,
Don't submit the offer.
Addenda.
Don't submit the 2406. They don't submit.
yeah, if they don't submit the
Yeah,
2406,
that's fine.
then I would say the payment.
Yeah,
Five BA, let's say I put 3% that goes to me,
Yes,
do I have to fill 5BB as well?
No.
Or that's, what do we put in 5BB?
maybe if you've got 3% here, you may put intermediary, they would pay X%. So,
So
'cause
you
it's-
can check both?
You can check both. Yeah, what you don't wanna do, which I see a lot, is 3% here and then the full listing price here. So if I'm selling that house, I don't want 3%, I want then $120,000 here. Yeah, flat fee, but it's not.
So going back to the question, if I have a listing that my seller has checked box B, and then I have an agent calling me, is there a compensation? What is the right way to answer that?
They don't have an agent?
No,
They do.
an agent calls me and
I
says,
like-
is there a compensation?
And you've got 5B?
What is the right?
I like this script that was sent to me from a real agent.
Oh.
Sellers are open to paying buyer's representation compensation based on the terms of the offer.
Oh, can you send that to
That's
us?
not professional like that.
Very professional.
But you said that we have to submit personal agreement between brokers.
No, that's.
No, that's only if it's 5A. If it's 5B, the sellers have said they're not gonna, the sellers have to give us permission to share the compensation we negotiate. And that's what 5A does.
And I did something at the time, one of the agents, he said something like, don't worry, you'll get those compensated, I'm like, that's fine, but what?
You're going to get compensated, you're gonna get compensated whatever you have in paragraph 5 of the buyer's representation agreement. That's what you agreed to be paid. It depends on who's paying.
But I'm sorry, but in answer to that question, because I had another agent that told me the same thing, and my answer was, well, I have to do my due diligence. because I have to let my buyer know
Yes.
that there is
Yes.
no compensation, so we have to work the numbers.
Mhm.
So it's, right, so it's, you have to do your due diligence as a buyer on the buyer's side,
Yeah,
right?
I wanna know up front because then I can turn around to my seller or my buyer and say, they're not offering compensation.
Yeah.
So either we need to negotiate it into the contract, or you'll be paying it at closing, so they have to bring extra money. Or maybe it's they're only offering 1% and our agreement is 3%.
Yeah.
So on that addenda, you can use two lines, 1%, which haven't turned, coming from the listing broker. And then 2% that's gonna come from the seller at closing, which is gonna equal our 3% that we have agreed upon. Good?
Is that what happened with yours for the 9%?
What she had done was up here in 5A,
Yeah,
the seller had agreed to pay the listing broker, us, 6%.
and then you accepted an offer to show on the other side for buyers, okay.
Yeah, so on that addenda, they had put the 3%, which coming from us, the listing brokerage, and the seller had agreed to another 3%.
Which you should also make, you should let it get off.
It wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
It was the EXP document where it's their compensation. And but what I didn't get was the seller is the broker, not a broker. So broker was 6%. But then commission 3%.
Yeah, they can.
seller.
So
So
B
they
seems to
got-
be the same as split.
I like B, but people will say you may not get as many people showing your property.
So can I this is an ignorant question, you know, a newbie.
Okay, hey, got a question up here.
This is a question that I probably should know, but I'm just curious, if I filled out B,
Here, go ahead.
if I filled out B and I put a percent, let's say I put 5% in there.
Excuse me,
Can I give
One person at a
2%
time?
afterwards, like, that's what I'm saying, I know
Oh.
this is a newbie, because I know that you're,
you can
getting
always
thoughts afterwards.
negotiate it. You can always amend it.
I guess what I'm saying is to try to keep things simplified, could I say the number B, could I say, you know what, it's gonna be a 5%?
Mhm.
And then can I don't even know how to say this appropriately, but because I'm putting 5% there, could I turn around and say, you know, sales agent or broker is willing to give 2% to
No,
the buyer's agent? No.
No.
Okay, and why?
because it has to be disclosed. They have to agree to it, so you can't agree to it after the fact.
But they could agree, but I guess that's what I'm saying, so if I filled out number B,
Mhm.
1, and I said, you know, 5% of the sales price.
Right.
And then in that B section, 5BB, you know, broker's going to give 2% to the
That's 5A.
buyer. It is, but it then, doesn't that prevent any kind of confusion with that other form, the 2206 coming? If I fill that out, and I'm, like, so I'm newbie,
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying, but what does what does line BB stand for? B1B?
but she just brought up, it could be the bonus.
Okay.
Maybe they're gonna offer. Well,
But
the
you're not
bonus would be to
allowed-
us.
Yeah,
Still, the
that's,
bonus would only be to us. That could be for intermediary. It could be for the Oldsmobile.
but I can't disclose that I'm willing to give 2% of
That's
my
what 5A
commitment.
is for. All right. Fun? I know. And there's different thoughts on this. Some people really like 5A, other people like 5B.
Did you ever find out what the first one was worth?
The what?
The first one child?
You could do that, but I'd probably, if it's up here 5A, I would do the firstborn and the secondborn to the buyer's agent.
Can you give us an example of what to put on 5BB?
The Oldsmobile,
Right. Sorry?
the Oldsmobile, the car. They're not gonna pay a percentage and they're not gonna pay a flat fee. They're gonna give you their car. Or something.
So instead of a commission, they're
Yeah.
giving you an item.
It's not gonna happen.
It was a joke.
99% of the time, you're gonna be using A. We don't know what we'd put in 5B. There hasn't been it's brand new. Yes, sir.
So one would not put in if closing within the next 30 days, the additional 2% would be given to the buyers.
That's a net and we don't do those.
You could put that. Okay, well, we used to say, you know, client, that would be compensation.
Yeah, but that would be a whole different thing. Okay,
Wait, but. Right.
Mhm.
5B. We said a little while ago that we could mention that if there's intermediary, we can offer.
you could put an intermediary.
Intermediary.
If it's intermediary, maybe it's 5% and 6% here. For the intermediary.
So that's only for a broker, like if
Yes,
there's another
it'd
agent
be-
from a broker.
Mhm.
Okay,
Then they have authorization to disclose seller paying buyer's expenses, either they are willing or they're not willing to. This is seller's contributions, paragraph 12 of the contract. Yeah, so maybe they're not offering anything here,
Right.
but they are willing when it comes up to offer compensation. Or contributions if it's at that point, now beyond the contract.
Oh, that's kind of their way to kind of see what kind of offers they get.
Exactly. Exactly.
In essence, they can do, was it 5BA, 1A right there, they
Yeah.
can do seller does.
It does, yeah. Now, they can give you a dollar amount, which you could put on the MLS. They don't have to, they can just say, yeah, I'll entertain it with dollar. If they are telling you that, you can use the Texas 1412 disclosure of other information. I love that form. Because I just asked y'all about that death in the property. That form is where they write out what I can tell them.
which one do you is recommended here by brokerage? Is there any
It's
recommended?
neither one. It's all negotiable. Mhm.
It's so tricky and I guess.
It's very tricky. Okay, it's earned. Seller sells, exchange options or agrees to exchange the property to anyone at any price or any terms. The broker individually, so either a customer or an intermediary, or the seller breaches the listing. It's payable the closing and funding of any seller exchange. Seller's refusal to sell the property after broker's compensation has been earned. So all of this is done. This comes up when you have a seller that comes to you 3 days before closing and says, I changed my mind, I'm not gonna move out. Well, Mr. Seller, not only can you be sued by the buyer, you owe Keller Williams Memorial this much money. Rarely happens. It has though. Seller breaches this listing or such times otherwise set out in the listing. Broker's compensation is not payable if a sale of the property does not close or fund as a result of seller's failure without fault of the seller to deliver a deed or title, loss of ownership due to foreclosure, or seller's failure to repair the home after a natural disaster. Breach in the contract. Breach by buyer, if seller collects earnest money, the sales price or damages through suit, compromise or settlement, we're gonna get our percentage out of that. If you have any service providers that may be paying a referral fee, it has to be disclosed. They have to give permission for you to accept that. Other fees, it could be early termination fees. I've seen people charge compliance fees, which I think should go to my pocket, but
Transaction coordinator?
transaction coordinator, yeah. I would always put an early termination fee on there. You know, you're gonna spend most of your money right up front. And if they decide in 8 weeks from now to pull the listing, I'm out that money. And any monies that are on here paid to the broker.
It depends on what you spend, like mine's 700. So I have my termination fee, if you pull the house off the market before we go to closing, you owe, so it's $700.
But when you have to put 1,100 because that's your.
No, because I have to have some skin in the game, I don't feel it's fair to collect all of it,
Right.
so
Out of that 700, how much goes to you, how much goes to the broker?
all of it goes to me. But it has to go
Through
through
the broker.
Okay.
So my
Through the
client
broker.
has to send the money to the broker, so it's not.
Then you have the accounting, and they want to split it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
if
is
we
that-
haven't met our cap yet at 18
thousand.
Right, it doesn't.
Doesn't have to do that. Go ahead.
Can we put that at like a stage, so from like, let's say. If we only at certain point spend, during the first 10 days, if you cancel during the first 10 days, then it's this much. If
Yeah.
the second stage is this much more, like, you know,
Yeah,
it's
Well, this is your business, so you can do it however, you can write it out however you want it.
because
Write it
I
out.
think it would be okay to put like 8 conditions, right? So you say, oh, the first 10 days, you're free to cancel. Then
Yeah,
the second stage,
That'd be
you know,
okay.
the other, after that month.
But make sure that when they sign this document, I mean, I have them initial that spot. Because I wanna make sure that they don't come back on me and say, no.
know.
Yeah, it's 31 days.
But it happens, you make their house look beautiful, you do all the things that I do as a listing agent. And then they're like, we changed our mind. I'm like, oh, no, you didn't.
You can have, but.
Like,
You change your mind, it's like, no.
Yes, everything that I get charged,
Yeah, so may I know more or less what is included in your 1,100?
not right now.
No, not at all.
Wait, yeah, that's another plus.
All right,
So just to
Yeah.
make sure, I can put a condition, it has to be, if you cancel during the first.
yeah, bring it by me
weeks,
first.
You're good.
Yeah,
That's it.
we can just bring it by it.
I would not do that because you're spending a lot of money the first few
Yeah,
weeks.
first,
That's what you're doing all.
yeah, you want to take it all back, and then if you cancel the first 30 days, you're gonna be 100%. 60 days, maybe 75, I mean, something, but you don't want to give them 2 months free. There's no reason to pull it back, to charge
I would
you
do
more
the
than that.
opposite way.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, protection period. Protection period means the time starting the day after the listing ends and continues for how many days?
90 days.
90 days, I've seen 60, 90, 120, I saw someone that put 1 day, that was ridiculous. So if they, meaning they sell or transfer the title to anyone. Now you have 10 days after the end of this to send in the list of the people who will fall under the protection period. So and so made offers that you refused. They're on my protection period. Yes,
Yet, if they sign a listing agreement with another broker, that's,
that doesn't, yeah,
that's gone.
that's
The
gone,
list is gone, right, okay.
maybe, go ahead.
What if they didn't like make necessarily an offer, but they show the property?
Well, if they showed the property with an agent, you're not gonna know the name, and you can't put the agent's name down. So it's honestly, this is more of a deterrent than us actually being able to go for it.
It's not bad seller from talking to the buyer and saying, hey, I'll give you a break if you deal directly with me first.
Yeah,
But besides that, it's.
There's been times when it's like, well, hey Tara, thanks for everything, but my neighbor's brother wants to
Yeah.
buy the house. Can you do the, I'll hire you to do the transaction for us, but this is kind of like that protection period.
all right, now with this also, what's the your number one job as a real estate agent?
Protect your client,
Sell the property.
reduce your.
Yeah.
Gary Keller says it's lead generator. So if you have 90 days on here, you're gonna tell me you're gonna be watching to see if that house sells. And then wait till the deed transfers and it shows up on the tax record. To go to our lawyer, to have our lawyer write a letter and demand payment. Or you move it on to the next thing.
Or you set up as a saved listing in Zillow and it texts you and emails you to somebody, so it goes under
I
contract.
have one right now. I'm just.
County, all amounts payable to the broker are paid in cash in Harris County. It's where the brokerage is located, and that's where we want to be sued.
Well, if we're sued.
If we're sued. I don't want to be driving up to Collin County for a court case, one in Harris County. Authorization, seller authorizes broker may instruct any escrow. This is the seller giving permission for the title company to cut your checks. Listing services. Now, we talked about in paragraph 4 when the listing began. It's going to begin today. Regarding public marketing. If the property is publicly marketed, so you give flyers, the seller gives flyers, you put a sign in the yard, it must be on the MLS within 1 business day. It can be coming soon. It must be on there. Hopefully that's going away. Okay, filing. Seller instructs broker as follows. Broker will file this listing with one or more listing services according to the following. Now, one is broker's gonna follow multiple listing service, A, within 3 days. I know it says 5, but our MLS rules is 3 days. So when this is signed and the listing begins, you have 3 days to have it on MLS. Now, let's say they need to paint and they need to pack up. You can check B for how many days and what's the reason. So I have them tied down. I'm just not gonna start marketing till October 1st. Now, if you do B, A1B, you must do the HAR 300. And what that says is that, Mr. Seller, these are the benefits of having your property on the MLS. 40,000 agents are gonna see it. It's a way to, first, because of a group of lawyers in Houston that were watching this and they were calling brokerages and saying it's day 4. We're suing you. And guess what? We wrote a check. Wasn't us, but it happened to us.
3 calendar days or?
3 calendar days. 3 calendar
Which
days.
is almost impossible.
Almost impossible. What I.
So,
see-
but at that listing date, in that. What? If your listing agreement date is 30 days from now, which I now understand why you put it at the day, which makes a lot more sense. But before, I would put that as whenever we were going to list it, then that would, you would check the top one.
Yeah.
Right, but if you put it as today's date, we've got to get this much better idea.
Mhm.
You're always gonna check that second.
We had to get an amendment to the listing agreement because somebody put that it would be. Begin on this date and they went ahead and had it on the MLS and they got an offer. Well, guess what? We didn't represent them.
So that's not on or before. If I
No,
do
it's
30
supposed to be
days, we want to
30
list it in 20 days.
You can do amendment, get it listed.
Do you have to?
Yeah.
No, if they've signed this and they get it ready, if it goes afterwards though, you need to.
Yeah.
amend. If it goes on the 3rd day, get an amendment.
Cause I'm doing a renovation of 7,500 square
Yeah,
foot house.
sometimes you're not gonna
And
get
we
it
don't know
done.
how long that
Yeah.
crap is
Mhm.
gonna last, but I wanted to lock them down.
No, I
for you
I
to
never,
make.
I always thought that was the date that was gonna be on the MLS, so I like that a lot better.
Okay, this talks about public marketing. If they public market it, it has to be on the MLS within 1 business day. Doesn't have to be, our MLS has coming soon. No, and it can go coming soon for 21 days. So you have it on there. It's seen by agents. You can't show it, can't get an offer or anything on it, but at least it's out there. And it covers public cooperation. Yes, sir.
What happens if the seller starts marketing it?
Has to be on within 1 business day.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it
So
says.
some of them, they can't talk about their list.
Okay, listing content. Photographs, images, graphics, video recordings, virtual tours. Seller's listing content is anything the seller's gonna give to us. Broker's listing content is anything that we produce. And what this is saying that it belongs to the broker. And seller's granting broker non-exclusive, irrevocable worldwide rights to it. So we can use that even after it closes.
For our ads? Like
For your ads, while we're here, if you're using a professional photographer, make sure you have a copyright release for editors.
Can we just use photos from the previous list?
No. No. Yeah, because even using a professional photographer, it's still their work, it's still copyrighted by them. Agent, another brokerage, Keller Williams, paid $5,000 because when he read the copyright, it said for that transaction only. And he was using it in other things, and he got a call, you're violating my copyright.
And my photographer has a lawyer that looked at all of our material. And he found someone on social media that used one of our pictures. He first called me and said, did I give this agent permission to use that photo? And I said no. And he said, okay, we're going after her because she took my MLS photos and put it in an Instagram reel. Well, there are photographers that are very protective, especially
Yeah.
these individual professionals. And like, it scared the crap out of me, so you better make sure that you have, you know.
If you don't have one, go back to Keller, Kennedy Memorial Agents Only, and there's 2 of them in there that I added.
So I'm sorry, that just happened to me. Somebody stole my pictures from a previous listing and used them. So what do I supposed to do now that I discovered it?
Well, if it's on the MLS, you report it to the MLS. You could also give them a call and say, I own the copyright on that.
But how do I'm sorry, I heard it and that's why I'm reading here. So my listing was a year ago, they used the same pictures that I had from a year ago. And so.
Report it to MLS. MLS will take care of that for us. We got one good.
So, because
Go ahead.
those pictures.
Yeah.
So as the other party that created content on sales,
Mhm.
and I got a verbal, got a verbal communication from them, said, from the leasing party, hey, can I use your pictures? And he was like, yeah, do it.
Okay.
Should I have it in writing?
Yeah.
You should have it in writing. You should also know that they have the copyright release. If
Right.
they can give you permission, but me, Mr. Photographer, is gonna come back and say, still my copyrighted material.
And then he's gonna sue, like my photographer would sue me and the person who used it, because I didn't have the copyright material.
What if I took some pictures and somebody is using my picture?
Then that's your intellectual material. Don't take your own pictures, get a professional
So
photographer.
right, we need to make that a rule in this office.
It will be after October.
No iPhone.
Will it?
I just really hate when I see people taking pictures in the bathroom and that pictures in the bathroom here. It's not retarded.
It's spelled under a name, but it's not professional.
I'm sorry, I was supposed to use that word, I'm sorry. It's so ugly and unprofessional.
So if we spend a lot of money, and are hiring a photographer to take pictures of like a beautiful home. And, you know, like if the deal falls through, then I would own those pictures because I paid.
It depends,
No.
what's your agreement with
Would
the
be a
photographer?
oh, because.
Every photographer has their own agreement. Yes.
And sometimes does the seller pay for the pictures sometimes?
That's up to you as the listing agent.
It's non-negotiable.
I'll negotiate.
And then, but if you do have copyright permission from the photographer for a lifetime to use those photos, then what would you use those photos for?
Selling
Hang on,
agents.
house.
Yeah, there's, yeah,
So,
there's
to the
lots
next
of ways.
agent?
I use, my brochures or my marketing
Yeah.
material of me as an agent. I have past, if you look at that big book I have in my office, I have past photos of my work.
Right.
And those are photos of all of my listings.
Oh,
So
and,
you could do something like that.
and even if the house doesn't sell,
I still
or
have
fall
photos,
through,
yeah.
you still
Yep.
have that.
Yeah,
Then they
because
all
that's my
fine, yeah.
experience.
Regina?
Right. Yeah, I have a question. Since hearing this, I just want to make sure if a listing agent gives me a right to do an open house, I need to check with them that they have copyright release.
No,
Not to do your
Not to
brochure
do
or
it, no.
something for open
Yeah.
houses.
you're doing it for the brokerage. You're doing it for listings that are here.
Yes,
So we've got it in the listing agreement.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay?
Good question.
Authorizing access. The seller giving permission for other people to enter their home at reasonable times. Authorizes brokers, other brokers, associates, inspectors, appraisers, contractors. Access to property at reasonable times and to duplicate keys. Scheduling company. Showing smart. Still keep saying
Yeah.
showing time. Showing smart, it's what's through the MLS and it's free. Use, like I said earlier, I'm lazy. I don't want to be answering the phone at 9 o'clock at night, call my sellers to get permission, call them, use showing time, showing smart. Key box, everybody uses the Supra, shake your head affirmatively,
Yes,
good, nobody uses a lockbox combo,
no,
good. The seller is or is not giving us permission to put it on there, on the property. When you're putting a lockbox on the property, think about where you're putting it. My house, and you come up to like the front doors here, and there's walls here and here. So I go up there and I've got a buyer. I'm doing this. What's going on behind me? I don't know. An agent was assaulted several years ago. As soon as she got it open, she was hit over the head with trouble. She was robbed, not anything else. But still, think about the other agents who may be coming in. So on my house, you may want to put it on the garage door because I've got easy escape.
It's a good tip, Mitch.
Make it
Yeah,
get-
oh, we put this way down on the bottom for a whole person like that, that's just not.
And if you don't have it on the front door, if you don't have it on the front door, tell the buyer's agents where it is.
Oh, my God.
That's why you do showing smart,
Showing smart, you put
because you can
instructions.
say where it is located. Because I had to get.
Condo, you don't have an option. Condo has.
Right, but most of the time a condo does not have that type of entryway. Just think about safety for not only you, but for anyone else. If it's occupied by a tenant, you must have the tenant's permission to put the lockbox on there. You're gonna use the 1411 for that. It's really the seller's responsibility to get that signed, but I like to do it myself. Is that, I get to meet the tenant, I get to make sure it's gonna be accessible times for
And
them.
they know it's being sold.
And they know it's being sold, yeah. Liability, when authorizing access to property, broker, other brokers, their associates, key box providers, or any scheduling company are not responsible for personal injury or property loss to seller or any other person. Seller assumes all risk of any loss, damage, or injury, except for loss caused by buyer. Seller will indemnify and hold broker harmless from any claim for personal injury, property damage, or loss. I really like that paragraph. It's the same paragraph that's on the buyer's representation agreement. It's not on the short form, though. Paragraph 8,
Are we allowed to use the short form?
no.
Oh,
Paragraph 8, it's left blank on purpose. When they redid this form, everything that was in paragraph 8 was moved up to paragraph 5, but they didn't want to have to renumber every single paragraph. So they just left it reserved, maybe in the future.
Can I ask another question? Sorry.
Yes.
So I'm curious, so we're allowed to go in and we're allowed to take pictures. So if I was having my own listing and then I had somebody else to come and do the open house for me.
Mhm.
And the individual who came and did the open house started taking recordings of inside the house and then posted it on their personal Instagram account. Does that have any kind of legal effect towards me?
can do that.
Are you allowed to do that?
You need to
Do
get permission from the
that?
seller.
That's what I was wondering. Do you need
Yeah.
permission from the seller
Yeah,
to
Or
do
at least
stuff
from
like
the
that?
agent.
or at least from the agent. And as a buyer's agent, you cannot go in and take pictures. Your clients cannot go in and take pictures. Your clients can't go in and videotape anything
That was.
without written permission from the sellers.
Okay.
It's private property.
Yeah.
Intermediary, what's intermediary?
Anything you do with another agent, so.
Yeah, when we've got the listing agreement signed here. You, as an agent, have a buyer's representation agreement signed. Now, with the intermediary, you're gonna find it on 4 different forms. Do y'all know what those forms are? What's the first one? First one explains it. IABS. Listed agreement and buyer's representation agreement is saying, hey, if this comes up, are you willing to entertain intermediary? And intermediary is blah, 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 blah. Y'all know how to explain that. They're saying yes or no. I very rarely have had anyone say no to intermediary unless they have someone already lined up that's gonna purchase the home. And when you say, well, then, if they choose no intermediary, it will not be shown by the other 600 agents in our office, which has share, market share. All right, and it explains what intermediary is, which is really nice because that's also a good way to explain your IABS. If broker acts as an intermediary in paragraph 9A, broker and brokers associates may not discuss with prospective buyers. We can't give any, broker can't give any advice. You, as the assignee to the buyer and seller, that's what you're there for, is to give them advice. Any information they give you is confidential for now and forever, unless required by law or it's a material fact, not like lawyers or priests or doctors. But like Michael and I were talking before, when you call an agent, shut up and listen, because they will tell you. Broker's authority, broker will use reasonable effort and act diligently to market the property for sale, procure a buyer and negotiate the sale of the property. That's your job definition. That's what we're being hired for. We're not being hired for property management. We're not being hired to be the security guard. Okay, so we talked about the listing term. I'm a public figure. I want to market my house, but I don't want everybody knowing about it. So they could do, the listing will be displayed, will not be displayed on the internet. So you've got the MLS, which is ours, and you've got HAR.com, which is the public facing of the MLS. They may not want it public facing. They just want 40,000 agents to know about it, but not the public. We had this happen with a divorcee who was really in protection from the ex-husband. She did not want it publicly out there. So we still put it on the MLS. So if you look it up, you see it. But if I, as general public, look it up, you're not gonna see it. When JJ Watt sold his house, he chose the second one. Seller does not want the address of the property displayed. So when we looked it up on the HAR.com, you could run across it, but every field that would have had an address in it said contact agent. It didn't have a property address, it did not have the legal description, anything was contact agent.
The
Now,
agent had to screen everyone for getting.
agent had to screen everybody, yeah. Don't be like I've seen. You take a picture of the street sign and put the property number in it when it's not.
I have a question for C, you're getting to that, I know,
Yeah.
maybe you might even talk about it. But there was a listing that just had conventional.
Yep.
And cash only, are they allowed, you're
Yes.
allowed to do
Yes.
that?
Yes,
Is that like kind of,
maybe
The house may not be qualified for being a.
There are condos that are conventional only, they won't take VAR.
oh, so it's not personal, it's something.
no, it usually has to do with the, well, it can be personal rarely, but it usually has to do with the
But
property.
you as the listing agent need to explain to them the benefits of checking all those boxes.
Right, that's what I would assume everybody would do.
But there are times when I walk through a house and I'm specialized in VA loans and working with veterans, and there's sometimes I walk through a house and I know it won't qualify.
They
for
have
VA.
some wood rot everywhere.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like, look,
And they're not willing to
I-
fix it,
I
so it's like, you know what, let me not attract those buyers to waste their time.
And there was a trick complaint, which I have on my desk, that they put FHA knowing the property would not qualify for FHA, and they got a contract, and then it was denied through FHA, and they sued the listing agent because they did not do their due diligence. That's the first one I've seen.
Qualified for it.
Probably the condition of the property.
Oh.
out of condo, and
Yeah.
we thought that it would qualify for FHA, we knew it would. And we had an FHA come through and it busted out in the last minute, it's like 2 days, and so we went back and we unchecked FHA on the MLS, but.
So check whatever they're going to accept or will qualify. Usually conventional. Cash, VA, FHA, sometimes. Texas Veterans Land Board, CVA. Owner financing, we've seen a lot of owner financing lately. And other, what's other? I never could come up with something.
Substitute?
Nope,
No.
Bitcoin.
Oh,
We've sold houses with Bitcoin.
Check with the title company and make sure.
Yeah, check with the title company, but yeah, that's okay.
And owner financing's big with like owners that have like a 2 or 3% interest rate.
Mhm.
Because I had 2 of them wanted to stay as an option because they can charge 5 and.
So you have probably to what cost do you do owner comments?
The subject to is,
I think somebody, like, I would be open to subject to, what do you click in there?
it's an investment, you don't, you just check, it's something
Yes,
completely different.
So let's say, like, for example, somebody is open to sell it. So the finance, so it would be on their owner finance?
If it's only owner financing that they'll accept,
They're like, for example, in an interview and stuff, and like, what form of banking do you take? Well, I got a loan that's 3%. Oh, good. Would you be open to subject to this when people give you some cash loans to take on that? No.
That would be
Oh, so now,
No.
assumption of mortgage.
assumption.
It's not an assumption.
No.
You know, because the subject to, the seller is still liable for that loan.
Yeah, talk to your finance person. You would check anything that they would accept. If they would accept seller financing, check that, but I'd also check conventional and cash.
And you know, you're gonna get so many subject twos, as soon as you list a house, you're gonna get 10 emails from investors with subject twos. So
Yeah,
you don't have to check any of that.
so that's my question. If I am, like, let's say, talking to the seller and he has to agree, which one
Yeah.
of those boxes?
Seller financing, conventional and cash.
That's completely different than what the seller will accept.
Yeah.
That's what they're qualified for, except on, you're talking about something, you and I can talk about that offline,
Yeah.
about subject to, but you don't have to worry about any of those with subject to.
MLS. Advertised by means the broker determines. Place a for sale sign on the house. Some subdivisions do not allow it, and hopefully your seller will let you know that. Furnish comparative marketing sales information about other properties to prospective buyers. If you get asked for your CMA, you can give it. Now, you're going to give the same CMA that you gave the sellers. So you're always going to be supporting the seller's price. Disseminate information to properties to other brokers, obtain information from any lien holders. You may want to go ahead and ask for the mortgage information. Disclose sales price and terms of sale after the close of the sale. We're gonna put that on the MLS if required. Responds to inquiries from prospective buyers that they're entertaining multiple offers. You're not gonna tell them what they're offering, but you're gonna let them know it is a multiple offer situation. There's a nice form that also explains multiple offers to your sellers if you want to use it. And as we get into, well, depends on the market, if we get a lot of offers. Advertising during and after that it's sold. Place information on internet, that's gonna be like .look.sign. Broker is not authorized to execute any you cannot sign on behalf of your clients. Surprised how many trick issues there are with agents signing on behalf of their clients. Seller represents, they have pretty simple and peaceable possession of the home. Seller is not bound to another listing agreement. Okay, this is gonna be the first time. Any pool or spa, any required enclosures, fences, gates, and latches comply with all applicable laws and ordinances.
That's new. Is that new?
No, it's been in there forever.
Because my clients just got their insurance and they wouldn't renew their insurance unless they enclosed the pool.
Oh,
And
okay.
they're on a large acreage, and so they were mad because it changed the dynamics of what the pool looked like.
We cannot know all of that. Because each municipality may have rules. And then each subdivision can have their own rules. So this is saying, Mr. Seller, that's your responsibility. Now, if you're the area expert, you may have the links to go to the municipality to find out what those are. Source of the source. No person has a right of first refusal or to purchase the property, condos, you may have first right of refusal. Seller is current and not delinquent on all loans or other financial obligations related to property, including but not limited to mortgages, home equity loans, home improvement loans, homeowner association, or taxes except. If they put an except on here, do your due diligence to make sure that they're gonna be able to close it.
And this is why you have a relationship with the title company.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I get a listing and if they have an accept, which I have one right now, I have them open the title, and so they pull everything. My client didn't realize he had liens on his house, but this gave us opportunity to clean them up before we got an offer and had to go to close.
And sometimes maybe they had a lien previously that they paid off, it was just never released. It's not always there. Them not telling you or not knowing.
But it could delay closing, so rather take care of it now than later.
Seller is not aware of any liens or encumbrances against a property except. Property is not subject to jurisdiction of a court. There is not legal separation in the state of Texas. If they filed for divorce, the property is under jurisdiction of a court. You're gonna wanna make sure they can sell the property. All information they provide us is true. If they're working with a relocation company, you're gonna put the relocation company down here and you're gonna get 40% of your income. But 0, 40?
Yeah.
I'll take 40. Seller's listing content and the license granted broker for seller listing content do not violate or infringe upon any rights. Seller is aware of the property being located in the following public improvement district. You look at the tax record, if it's in a mud, a pit, a PUD, a lid, a WCID, drainage district, you have to disclose that.
And make sure this matches your Sunday disclosure, because that information will also, seller will have to put that on the seller's disclosure.
And an LID, a WCID, an ID are not MUDs. Not everything's a MUD. They're each different. So look at the tax record. It'll be under jurisdiction. Additional promises, seller. Cooperate, facilitate showing. Sometimes you have to remind them. Not to rent the property or lease it without going through us, not to negotiate. This is a good place to talk about showings. Leave the house, please. There's nothing more uncomfortable than a seller. We had a seller though, she was extremely accommodating. Went into the house, she showed us around the house, she told us how the bedroom, master bedroom was too small for her bed. She told us about the primary bathroom, her and her husband couldn't get ready together. She showed us where her clothes were in the hallway because she couldn't fit it. She was very helpful to the buyer.
And those are the stories you use on your listing presentation. where
Yes.
You've got a seller that wants to stay there and say, I know you think you're gonna help, but I'm the negotiator. And there's things you're gonna say that you think are helping that could destroy this entire deal. Get
And
out
it's-
of your house.
Even get out of the yard. It's real difficult to talk to somebody, but be smart. If a bedroom door is closed, knock. Teenagers were very embarrassed. If a door is, this is something else for me. I was showing a property downstairs, the door was closed. Well, knocked on it, no one answered, so I opened it up. It was a small bedroom, but they had bearded dragons
Oh, wow.
everywhere, which are lizards. The wife, you, remember the cartoons where you see their legs spin so fast? That was her. She was out that door, up the stairs, in the car locked in seconds. Now, if I had known that beforehand, I could have warned them.
And that's why we put it on the showing house. Put it down there.
Sweet smart. And the agent should have put a sign on the
Yes.
door. I had one that had these two huge dogs in cages
Yes.
in the rooms, and my showing instructions, I had a text set up saying, you'll see this. And look, the bedroom looks exactly the same as this other bedroom, not go in here. I had a big sign on there. Dogs, you're not in it. And then I had clients that did, they're like, well, we don't wanna be in a house that had dogs. Perfect, you don't have to waste my time and get my seller out.
Right.
So.
Okay. Second time we're gonna see this. Maintain any pool and all required enclosures in compliance with applicable laws. Complete disclosures, update them if anything changes. Limitation of liability. If the property is to become vacant during the listing, they need to notify their insurance carrier. Most insurance carriers want the house to be occupied.
And insurance will go up if the legal coverage.
Yeah. After the last storm of listing, they filed for it. The adjuster goes out and there's no furniture and there's a for sale sign in the garage. They denied the claim because it wasn't occupied.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
So. Horrible. Broker is not responsible or liable in any manner for personal injuries, blah, blah, blah. What somebody else may have on their website. Asked Michelle Collins on one Friday. When she's calling me and the broker and everyone else, because on Zillow, no, it wasn't on Zillow, I think it was on Craigslist. It had a nice picture.
Nope, that was Zillow. I still got the picture of it. I'm the one who got it off.
Oh, was you? Was that the one with the naked men?
Yep, naked man.
Okay.
I got a hold of the CEO of Zillow
To get
to get it off.
Yeah.
At 2:25 in the morning.
Uh-huh. they had copied it and it was like the
It was
elevation
just back
and then,
naked dude, hairy naked dude, sitting spread eagle on a couch. That was her main picture on Zillow.
Yeah.
On the Zillow listing. They somehow
And
got
this
her
is-
password
it happens.
and put her on there.
We've had listings show up for rent on Craigslist. It happens.
And that's why you can embed information in your photographs, like your.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, all mine have it. That's how I find them on Craigslist. And actually, I got a recording where I called the guy and over at wherever he was, saying I want this for rent. They were
In
trying to rent my-
October, Mike will be having a class.
Yes.
I got the whole thing recorded.
Oh, good. Let's see. Acts of third party. You're not responsible for the house that gets broken into. We're not the security. Remember, we have it defined. Freezing water pipes. You're not a property manager. Dangerous conditions on the property. Now, when you're walking the property, look for that. Now, I went into a property that had new white tile. It was perfectly lined up with white grout. And no one told me there was a 3-inch drop from the front door to the living room. Yeah, so I did a nice stumble.
Well, and this is also a time when I walk through and we're in Texas and I have a lot of clients that have guns. And I remind them that these need to be stored and secured and out of sight. And, you know, I don't know, that's when I'm going through this, that's kind of one of those things that I mentioned to them. Because I have gone in a house and the gun was laying on the bed.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I lost a listing because I asked that question, why would you think I would have a gun? Didn't say
I
you
asked
would, I mean, I
everybody.
explained it to them like, oh, okay. I was like, dude, we're in Texas, and now, in my defense, they were moving to California, which is why they were selling their house, so, yeah.
Have you been into a kitchen while showing property and find weapons left out? No?
Nice.
Have you ever seen a knife block?
Yep.
Yeah.
A weapon. Don't think about just
gun.
guns. Think about the person who's showing the property. Make it as safe for that other agent. Okay, seller agrees to protect, defend. Hold broker harmless for any damages, attorney fees and expenses are caused by seller. Either the seller not telling us or not knowing about. Arise from seller's failure to disclose a material fact. Are caused by the seller giving us incorrect information. Now, what can you put in special provisions?
Keep the house neat from showing times, you know, from, make sure the house stays clean, make ready to view between 8 AM to 7. If they're still living, if they're not still living there, please keep it clean on rent.
Yeah.
And make sure you maintain the lawn too.
Great to put in special provisions. This is the agreement between us and them. A lot more leeway in special provisions.
Do we need to have a lawyer write that? though?
Nope,
Okay.
we're a primary to it. Now, if it sounds legal to you, run it by somebody first. Okay. Seller does not cooperate with broker to facilitate showings, they could be held in default. If either party is default, we agree to mediate. Whoever loses is gonna pay attorney fees. Other addendas and documents that you're going to be giving that seller. IABS, of course. Seller's disclosure unless it falls under one of the other categories. If it was built before 1970, you have to do the lead-based paint.
Oh,
2078.
Thank you.
Oh.
You're making sure we want to wait.
Yep. Residential real property affidavit, if they're providing the existing survey, they have to do the T-47.
At
We-
that time. Right, at that
They
time.
have to deliver it at the time they're doing both, yeah, that's part of the contract. We always recommend that they don't.
and most surveys are copyrighted.
Most surveys are copyrighted, and the ones that aren't have a little statement in there that says for this transaction only.
Yep.
And your title company will be the one to say.
Yeah.
So.
They approve it.
Well,
Tell your,
A lot of
buyers-
times
I tell my buyers every time,
Get it over
expect to pay your own survey.
Yep.
And I tell my sellers, if you got a survey, I don't want it, I don't
Yep.
want to see it.
We're not gonna use it.
You're held liable now for it.
If they're in, if there's a mud, water district, drainage, or everything we went over, you're gonna check here. If it's in a PID, public improvement district. Request for homeowners information. You may wanna get that. You wanna know if there's something on there that could delay the sale of the property. Request for mortgage information. If they have mineral rights, which very rare you're gonna run into that. On-site sewer facility, gonna run into that. Information about property insurance for buyers or sellers. In this document, they talk about a clue report. So they're gonna run a clue report. They're gonna find out how many times they filed for that house.
And that's gonna make a difference. We had $1 million house that we had to sell for $500,000. It was in River Oaks. I mean, actually, it was like $3 million house. And every time a buyer would come in, they would go to get their insurance and the insurance would be so expensive. Well, that was because so they had more than 7 claims on that property. So the homeowner's insurance made it so high that the buyer could not afford the house. So we ended up having to sell the house for like $1 million, so somebody could afford the insurance. So do a clue report.
Always will approve for
Well,
your listings and for your buyers.
right, so you know,
An option period.
get an insurance person as your preferred partner.
If the house is like not in such good condition before doing a listing, do you recommend inspectors?
I recommend,
I mean, if
free inspections, why,
Yeah.
to my
Just to
sellers.
Do
Yeah.
You offer free inspections to your
Not,
customers?
no,
Free.
free,
Free.
free.
just so that.
But you do that, you have to
Before-
disclose
Yeah.
it.
No, that's, yeah, I've got an inspector that comes when he does a consultation. He doesn't do an actual inspection, he goes through and he looks at everything, and then he comes back and it's not an inspection, it's, hey, here are some things that you might wanna look out for. If I do a price drop, I almost force my sellers to get an inspection, because now we have a reason for doing a price drop. And what's the problem with having to disclose it, because the buyer's gonna get it anyway,
Yeah.
And-
Know what you're going into.
So you still disclose it?
you have to.
Okay, that's what I'm
Not
saying.
on a free. depending
Not
how
on the
pre-listing,
consultation.
not on a consultation, but if you do a full inspection before you listings, you have to disclose that.
So, but on the consultation, you don't, you know, you have a professional commenting on a possible issue,
Possible issues.
but it's factual.
Talk to the inspector.
I would really take a case by case basis.
Yep.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah. Information about special flood hazards, that's the 1414. It's a really good document. I use it, it's not a required document, I use it with buyers all the time. We have a lot of things that have flooded in the city of Houston. If it's a condo, you must do the condo addendum. If there's a tenant, the 1411, the key box authorization. Seller's authorization to disclose and advertise certain information, that'd be the 1412. If they're gonna offer seller's contributions and they tell you I'll offer up to 14,000, you write it in there. If they tell you that the person who died on the property, I want you to answer it like that, put it on that form. Another form that's not listed on here, which I really like, is information from other sources. On that form, it's cool.
That's the property that I have.
Good. Because it's showing, I'm not the source of this. This is where I've gotten this information, you can go check it yourself. And you could add on here the KW Memorial Sellers Disclosure. And general information. Anything that you check on here, we're gonna be looking for it. Let's see, you give it to them.
And it's part of the contract, right?
It's part of the agreement.
Agreed.
Agreement of parties, entire assignability. Finding effective, all the legal stuff. Additional notices, according to accordance with Fair Housing National Association Code of Ethics, We have to abide by that. Broker advises seller to review information broker submits to the MLS. We do not require you to have the MLS initialed off. Best practice, get it initialed off. You want to make sure that you're advertising the way they want it advertised. You look at a lot of houses, you may not remember if that was granite. Was it silestone? Was it in the bathroom? They just look over it and they say, yeah, that is how I want my house marketed. Initially.
I always send it to my clients and just say like, look, I'm human, I might have made a mistake or an error. Read over this and make sure if there's anything else you want to add to it, let me know. This is a,
And we do that within the 3 days from when they say.
No.
no, this is just,
This is just. Their connection.
I had my seller kits that I put down 22 spaces on the garage. I had
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing, and then she's like, I don't think we have 22 spaces. Where'd you sit down? I'm like, son of a-"
Have another agent look at it also. I had a property, we're gonna show it, and the primary bedroom, large walk-in primary closet with playset and children. My buyers didn't want a playset and they didn't want children. That's what it read. There was one that said, tenant lives till end of month. Another one that said, accompany showings due to monkeys. That one was true. They had monkeys on the property. All right. Broker advises seller remove jewelry, prescription drugs, other valuables, firearms, and any other weapons. Walk the property, look for those things. Look for that Rolex that's sitting out on the dresser. Consult an attorney before using any surveillance. Statutes and ordinances may regulate certain items on the property. Example, swimming pools, septic systems. Third time it's been on there. We're really pushing them to, it's your responsibility.
hey, Mitch, can we go back to the surveillance camera?
Mhm.
So I have a listing right now that is full audio and everything inside and outside. So I documented that on my HAR listing as well as in my showing smart. Have I done everything I'm
I would
supposed
put
to
a
do?
sign on the house also.
Oh, display on the camera. Yeah, I've done that before.
And by the way, if by law, you have to have that on, if you're like,
Doing
it's raining and all the other ones provide a little sticker.
Right.
You gotta have that on the outside somewhere.
And as a buyer's agent, just
Oh, God.
expect that you're being recorded.
Don't tell me anything good about this house,
Nope.
get outside.
Nope. Don't go in there and jump up and down.
Yeah.
Someone's watching. Okay, House Bill for 1978, lead-based payment disclosure. If the seller is a foreign person defined by federal law, that has to be disclosed. There's rules that go along with that. The buyer may have to withhold funds until that seller pays their taxes. And by law, if they don't take that out, they don't pay them, buyer pays it. Title company is gonna help you with that, refer them to our CPA.
You mean by foreign, like no papers, like the?
No, they can even have papers, but they're not a resident. Uncle Sam's gonna get their money on it. All right, broker advises to refrain from wire fraud, okay? Read it, we can't give advice. Both sides have to be signed before you can go live with it and before you have an executed listing. So sellers, Keller Williams Memorial, your signature as associate for the broker, and then your name and your license number. That was recently added, 8/23 that was added. Must be signed by everybody. The Woodlands took a listing. Agent never signed it. At closing, seller said, I'm not paying commission. We don't have an agreement. And he didn't. All right.
And you know that seller knew that from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know it. Okay. Any questions about the listing agreement? Few things else we'll cover. If the property is farm and ranch unimproved property, there is paragraph 7, which is a seller's disclosure which they put into here, into the contracts. As a buyer's agent, I don't know. So we did a form. You can ask the seller to fill this out and you can attach it to the MLS. So the buyer's agent knows what to put in paragraph 7. Test your knowledge. Which of these owners do not have to complete a seller's disclosure? New construction, investor, foreclosure, someone who inherits a property, A and C, or all the above?
All the above.
A and C.
Yeah, A and C. If it's new construction, never lived in,
Why C?
it's a foreclosure, it's owned by a bank.
Oh.
Yeah.
And when it's owned by a bank, you do not need to sell.
They don't have to do a seller's disclosure, they know better about that. Refrigerator is listed on the MLS, but it's not mentioned on the contract. Does it stay? Does it convey?
No.
No, personal property,
Let it built in.
unless it's built in. Yeah. The MLS is non-binding. Still, worry about marketing, rest of it. You have a license. Can you now sell real estate anywhere in the state of Texas? No.
That's a horrible question, by sentence, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
That would look bad.
Wait, I thought since we have a Texas real estate.
You have to be geographically competent, you have to have permission from your brokers.
Oh, right, we're licensed, but we have to have permission from
Yes.
Michael Boson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Groundwater and conservation and subsidence district, why is it important? Elevations dropping. It tells you how you can use water. Any county that has a color in it is in either a groundwater conservation district or a subsidence district. There's only a couple of subsidence districts. Fort Bend County, Harris County, Galveston County, so we're in it. Harris Galveston Subsidence District was developed in 1975. Brazoria County Groundwater Conservation District in 2005. Fort Bend Subsidence District in 1989. Blue Bonnet, which is Grimes, Waller, and Austin counties in 2002. Montgomery County in 2001. Liberty and Chambers, the only ones that are not in an official subsidence district, groundwater conservation district. After the levee breach, Channel 2 ran a segment from the 1980s where an engineer, before they built those houses, walked the area saying this is a subsidence district. There will be a major storm. There will be a major flood in the works.
Pushed back 6 different times the budget.
What can happen if the seller fails to disclose? Buyer could find himself a victim of misrepresentation by the seller and the listing agent. If you're geographically competent, and if the seller doesn't disclose it, you better disclose it. That's why I put it in that Keller Williams buyer's disclosure. You don't have to remember, you just have to go over the form. HAR rules and regulations, everything's 3 days. You have 3 days to put it on, you have 3 days to change the price, change the status. Same stuff. We talked about clear cooperation. Listing details, you must have written directions. You can't put use GPS. They're gonna send it back. You gotta put from a major road. I've always done, I just go to Google. I type in the address and then I look for the major road.
ChatGPT does it for you in a second.
Oh, I haven't thought of that. Okay. ChatGPT. Physical property description. The public field is intended to describe the physical attributes of the listed property only. Personal grievance of mine, I hate it when it says this is a 4-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms. It's already on there. Tell me how I'm gonna use it. What are the features of this house that I can sell?
And I like to also use the updates and the upgrades,
Yeah.
like the roof was this, so give the buyer's agent as much information about your home, then that's the less conversation you're gonna have to have. And then under the photos, do it again. Describe stuff that they can't.
Please.
Like this primary room was just painted and new carpet in 2024. you know, or something, you know.
You'll see a picture, you don't know what it is. It's like,
Yeah,
And put them in order,
no,
yes.
no,
you don't have to.
Yes.
no.
And you don't have to put 40 pictures, just because
50 pictures.
it allows for 50 pictures, you don't have to put 50 pictures.
Should put.
But remember,
But there's
No.
minimum, right?
What's that?
yeah, you have to have, within 10 days. Don't,
Minimum.
don't put a listing live without pictures.
Why are you saying not put them in order? Like, when you walk in the front door?
No,
Oh,
okay. Our cable list is syndicated out to
Yes.
how many different ones? Not all of them take 50 pictures
They
or
don't take
35 pictures.
First,
Maybe they take 5. So I've got a picture of the elevation on the left side, elevation on the right side. I've got a picture of the front door, I got a picture of the entryway, and I got a picture of whatever.
you don't see the.
Why would I look at that house? So if I have the elevation, and what sells homes?
Kitchens.
Kitchens, living rooms. If there's a
The
great
best
selling.
what I'm saying is don't put a picture of the bedroom and then all of a sudden the next picture is a picture of the other bedroom, then you go back to the other bedroom.
Oh, yes, I understand.
I want to make it, at least, you
Yeah,
know, walk in. Yeah,
It
well,
puts-
that's what I meant.
But those first 5 to 10 pictures, make sure the pictures are gonna make me wanna go see the house. There was a broker that was saying he only puts the minimum on. And they're the selling pictures, cause it makes the other agent wanna show.
And that's why I don't put all 50,
Mhm.
even because I have a listing that was sitting there and my coach was like, take some of those pictures down. Because then it's gonna make them wanna come see it to figure out what the rest of the house looks like, which is a good, you know. Good trick.
Is the first picture usually the front of the house?
Not always.
Not always.
Like if you have like an amazing pool, or backyard, outdoor kitchen, you might use that.
What's gonna make me wanna go show that house?
Right.
Let me interested in that house, or the public when they're looking at HER.com. You can. Do virtual staging, you have to disclose it on the pictures, you cannot have any contact information on your pictures. You can't have a picture of the sign. Can't have the contact information for the photographer. You can't, if there's power lines in the back of the house, can't get rid of those. Have them there, they're going to see them
And with virtual staging, I put
side by side.
yeah, I put virtual staging first, then I put the picture of what it actually looks
Yeah,
like.
that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always, I do the same thing.
And I put in the virtual.
Yeah. My first picture is the one staged,
Yeah.
and then the second one is the same room, but with it removed.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, easement, do we have to mention those in the description?
Easements?
The easements, no.
Like, if they got like power line going from.
No, you don't have to, they're gonna figure that out when they get the offer, when they're doing. Yeah.
Then when it's
Learn it.
virtual staging,
Mhm.
you need to show when it's actually at the virtual stage and the other one without it.
You don't have
That's
to.
best practice,
To show.
but you have to disclose if it's virtual.
Yeah, you have to put on the picture that it's.
Yeah, you can't change anything.
Okay.
One pet peeve of mine, and it's just totally my stuff because I'm a little.
Yeah.
Every single property in this city has the front door facing east and the back facing west, because there's always a sunset behind the houses. I know Kimberly laughs at me too, because it's like. I'm the only one that thinking that.
That's, yeah, the beautiful sunset.
All right. What counties are located in the subsidence district? Fort Bend, Galveston, Harris,
All of the above.
all of the above. Paragraph 1, how would you,
What does subsidence mean?
it's dropping, elevation is dropping. This is another very badly written question. How would you fill in paragraph 1 for an LLC?
You have to get the
Yeah.
sequel.
Yeah, give me something, so it's gonna be LLC, XYZ, LLC, signatory, Mitchell, whoever, who is signing. Have to let them know. Same thing on the contract,
The company has been the signature.
signature.
Right.
Same thing with an estate of Mitch Rainey. Executor, executrix,
So you got another bad written question.
they all are,
3 days.
3 days.
yeah. If you put a sign in the yard, you have 1 business day to have it on the MLS.
Even if you have it coming soon.
No, coming soon is okay. Yeah, well, it's on the MLS.
So,
Oh, yeah.
one in the what's happening, they say 5 days of real estate.
That's, and right before that, it says our MLS rules. MLS rules are 3 days for HAR,
So if I put a sign,
What are the 3 days?
3 days.
What about 3 days?
You have to have it listed on the MLS within 3 days.
I'm sick of you to stay on fire.
Three is the rules for Houston. Yeah, this document is written for the entire state.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Good class. Smith.
There's my contact information. If you have any questions, I might be on the hallway.
I'm trying to hold myself.